So this is the second part of my little Game of Thrones things, little Game of Thrones series with the characters and the fragrances for them. There may well be more parts, but for now just 2 parts. Enjoy folks, bye.
So first up on the list, and this was bound to come, wasn't it? You knew he was missing. It's actually Ramsey Snow, and that's because but by far he's one of the most interesting characters, isn't he? But not just that, he's got quite a complicated story as well. He's not just a total psychopath. There's reasons behind that kind of being a psychopath. Won't go into it. There's more in the books again where he's even more kind of messed up in the head. But there is rhyme and reason. He's not totally evil. Well, he is, but probably he's been made that way, let's say. But Ramsey is next, and what I've gone for Ramsey is another collage fragrance, and that is Dracula. And I think that's just perfect for him because he is very charming and he is very kind of nice on the outside, but perhaps he's got this really dark, dangerous, animalic kind of touch to him, obviously, because he's a bit rabid, isn't he, and a bit evil and a bit dark. And I think if Ramsey was another character, he would be like a bit of a Dracula character, wouldn't he? So that's for Ramsey, and that's Collages, Transylvania. Next up on the list, I had to have this. The person that stole my name is, of course, Jon Snow. Now, Jon Snow, I like him more in the books, probably again, than in the series, because they kind of killed him a bit in the series, didn't they? But he's basically... he got dealt a bad hand and he didn't know who he was. Kind of unloved by everyone, wasn't he, really? Sent to the wall at quite a young age, where they didn't really like him there either, did they? And he kind of had it's a bit of a loner, a bit of a glum kind of hero, isn't he? But ultimately, he was a good man, and he did a lot of different things. He fell in love when he shouldn't have done. He tried to unite the people, and ultimately, like his dad, Ned, he was all about the people and the people who weren't represented, wasn't he? So, for Jon Snow, I've kind of picked the kind of ultimate kind of glum fragrance, bit of a dark one with that sweet rose, is Noir de Noir. As I think that kind of perfectly represents Jon Snow, that kind of dark, empty kind of side, with that beautiful rose running through him, making him quite a loving, sensual kind of guy. So for Jon Snow, Noir. So next will of course be the Iron Banker of Bravos, Tycho Nestorius. And the reason I love him is not just the actor that plays him, but in the whole book he's actually possibly one of the most important characters. The Iron Bank is possibly kind of the most mysterious and controlling part of it, like banks are in the world, I guess. Bit of an analogy there, but it's possible that they also, well, they will control the Faceless Men, which may control, obviously, they've helped Arya achieve a goal, which is of course killing lots of powerful people, and maybe, who knows, in the books she'll have an even bigger role. Don't think, but anyway, not to go into Arya. But yes, he's also one of my favourites because he's quite a mysterious character, quite a stern character, and I think the perfect fragrance for him will be Guerlain's Vetiver. The reason I've chosen that is it's quite a simplistic green vetiver, slightly citrus, kind of old schooly fragrance, but it does exude a bit of money and a bit of class, but it's so simplistic and so inoffensive. It's almost like you wouldn't notice it, and I think that kind of perfectly personifies Tycho. So yes, that's Guerlain's Vetiver for Tycho the Iron Bank. Now next up on the list, how could I have possibly left him out? He is one of the main characters, and that is Sandor Clegane or the Hound. Now he's such an important character, isn't he? He has such a role to play in lots of characters' story arcs. Arya, the kind of the crew of men, himself, he has an arc. He kind of dies and is reborn, but sadly he still holds on to that revenge, doesn't he? That motivates him and keeps him going. And in the series, obviously, he doesn't really overcome his fear of fire, but he chucks his brother into the fire with him, doesn't he? Gets his final revenge. And he is really such a fantastic character. And obviously, again, the actor's great. And just his wit and his dryness and his pure hatred of the world reminds me of someone. But now, what I've picked for Clegane or the Hound is Spice Bomb, the original. And that's because, obviously, it's got all that fire and that dark spice in it. But it's also quite alluring and quite warm, isn't it? Which I think he is underneath it all. And it's also quite rough round the edges, but at the same time there's a certain beauty about that roughness. It is what it is, isn't it? So that's Spice Bomb for that. Next, of course, it's by far one of my favourites, actually more so than Jon. That's Jaime Lannister, the arrogant, good-looking, fantastic hero. Obviously one of the most important people in Westeros. He was the guy who killed the last king, the kind of a guy a bit without honour, who kind of goes, again, like a lot of the characters, 360, and kind of once he's lost everything, his looks, his position, his hand, his fighting hand, which he's most famous for, he kind of gets over his sister, one of the most beautiful people in the kingdom, and falls in love with the person and the pure kind of goodness of Brienne. So of course he's a really important character. And what I've picked for Jaime is Yves Saint Laurent La Nuit de l'Homme. And the reason I've picked that fragrance is because it used to be once great. It used to be one of the most famous, kind of beautiful fragrances. And now it's an old cosy memory, isn't it? A lot of us still like it and remember them good times. But really, it's nothing special anymore. It is to us with our memories, but I think that kind of suits him perfectly, doesn't it? And it's quite a simple, nice fragrance, kind of what he's turned into, isn't it, really? So that's Yves Saint Laurent, La Nuit de l'Homme for Jaime Lannister. And come on, you know I like my bad people. I had to have him in this. He's even more sadistic and mental in the books. But that's Joffrey, the absolute nutcase. He is really probably being a product of incest and being a very spoilt child, kind of always destined to the throne, so kind of been able to get away with what he wants, no discipline. So yeah, he is a great character, and in the series he's portrayed brilliantly with his just utter psychopathy, really. Is he worse than Ramsey? Maybe. But he's just such a detestable person. There's no goodness in him, is there really? You can't like anything about him. But at the same time, he was kind of made that way, wasn't he? So what I've picked for him is actually Dupont, which is one of them fragrances that everybody seems to dislike, don't they? And it's very loud, it's very in your face, it's very edgy, it offends a lot of people. But it is what it is, and it was popular at one point. I mean, Joffrey's people loved him at one point before they kind of knew what he was like. So I think it kind of suits him. I think it is something he'd wear just to stick two fingers up to everyone. So that's Dupont, and that's for Joffrey. Next up, my favourite ladies. Now, it's Cersei, but I've already kind of done this for Cersei, so won't be mentioning Cersei this time. So instead it'll be Little Cersei, you'll call her, and that's Marjorie, who is 100% a mini Cersei. She's totally, utterly focused on power, and she knows she'll do anything to get that power. And really, for a great amount of time in the show and in the book, she does outfox Cersei. She is ultimately kind of the next queen. It's just a bit of bad luck, really, that gets her killed. Don't know in the series, in the books, in the proper story, how she meets her end, but in the series it was done quite cheaply and quite rubbishly, wasn't it? I don't think it'll happen like that when the story's told properly. But she uses her beauty, she's very manipulative. She married 2 kings, didn't she, ultimately? And probably, in fact, in the series she was going for the 3rd king as well, wasn't she? So she knew what she was trying to get, and she was like the next queen, and ultimately she overstepped her mark, I think, thinking she could outfox Cersei. But I still kind of admire that kind of driven power in her. And what I've picked for her is black opium, and I think that's the perfect sense for a very sweet but very dark and sultry kind of something all men would go for. It kind of knows how to work it in, doesn't it? How to make people weak at the knees, how to kind of draw everyone in, I guess, isn't it? And kind of make them just concentrate on the beauty of the scent rather than what's inside it. And that's what I think kind of represents Marjorie. Next up will be Olenna, Queen of Thorns, if you like. And she's kind of the matriarch of the story. Again, much cleverer than all the women in it. Although again, she does meet her end at the hands of Cersei ultimately in the series. Don't know in the book again. But obviously, in the book, she killed Joffrey with Varys. She did everything she could to get a granddaughter kind of on the throne and on the power. She really did outfox Cersei and all the Lannisters at every turn, really. And she did survive a long time, and ultimately, in the series, she died at her own hands. She knew her time was coming and she was old, but she still died at her own hands and still got a final sting in the tail. And that's what I loved about her. Again, such possibly the strongest character in the whole book, wasn't she, really? And what I've picked for her is Rose Oud from Killian, because the oud kind of in it represents that little darkness, that little sting in Olenna's tail. But ultimately, just the beauty of the rose. And it's quite a simplistic scent, but at the same time, it's very powerful, very, very elegant and beautiful. And it's one that you wouldn't forget easily. And I think that perfectly typifies it. Then we have Melisandre, who actually, again, in the books, is maybe just as interesting as she is in the show. Quite a mysterious character. But is she serving the Lord of Light or herself? Does she stop believing? Who knows? But in the end, in the series, she serves a purpose before giving up. Who knows how old she is and how long she's waited for that moment. But she is actually one of the most interesting characters, and is ultimately doing what she believes is right. Even though sometimes it comes across as a tad on the evil kind of extremes. But I do like the character. And what I've picked for her is Mugla's Alien. And the reason I've picked Mugla's Alien is because it is that kind of dark, loud, but very seductive, very out there and in your face kind of fragrance. And I think it suits her perfectly. Loved and adored by some, but some absolutely hate and detest it. So I think it suits her well. So that's Melisandre, and that's Alien from Arya, who never really starts off as like a sweet character, does she? She starts off not even naive. She knows what she wants. She knows that this kind of opinion of women and being put in your place just isn't for her. She never wants to be a princess. She wants to be her own person. She wants to be strong. And she, in the books, and probably in the series actually, she has the most fascinating of journeys, going all the way to see the faceless men, travelling round, doing it all on her own and discovering who Arya really is. And who Arya really is not no one. It's Arya Stark, isn't it? So what I've picked for her is Mila Harris's Leather Rouge. The reason I picked that is because obviously leather, that kind of traditionally masculine fragrance. But it's not, and it does suit her, and I think she feels very comfortable with that sort of thing. And it has that hint of sweetness, still representing that kind of traditional femininity that's there. Not femininity in the sense that she's delicate or soft, but a strong, powerful one. So I think it's a perfect fragrance for her. So that's Mila Harris Leather Rouge for Arya.